All right, looks like we're going here. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Um, Thank you for joining us. Uh, if you can't hear me, please feel free to type something in. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be taking a look at HOBOware and ask us supposedly experts on how to do some tips and tricks of the software essentially. So good. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, let's dive into this here. We're gonna take this. If you haven't done this before with us, we're pretty much here to answer your questions and kind of show you, what to do within the software. So I'm gonna spend probably 5 or 10 minutes here just talking a little bit about Onset, and then we're gonna get right into it. And so this is being recorded. We did get a bunch of your questions for those of you who signed up early and sent those across. So thank you for doing that. Um, and yeah, this is going to be recorded. So if you want to listen to us over and over again, you can check it out later. There'll be an email sent out later. For those of you who have not done this, and want to put in questions, just go ahead and type them into the question screen here, and we will get those as we come up here. So what I'll do is we'll bring Mike online. Mike DeLellis, who's going to be helping me out with this. Mike, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Everybody hear me out there?
Yep.
Good, good. So I am Mike DeLellis. I'm a tech support engineer. I've been called the senior tech, also the tech support team lead. I've been with Onset now for 15 years. I started in 2005 in a different department. In 2007, I moved over to the tech support team. Yeah, I'm sure many of you out there that are listening right now actually probably had correspondence with me. I've been doing it for quite a long time.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Mike's new to this webinar, as some of you who may have come to these in the past with Herman. He retired a couple of years back. So myself, I'm in product marketing. Been here about 22 or so years, previously in applications and in sales. So and been doing product line and product marketing now over the past 9 or 10 years. So definitely looking to dive in. One of my main focuses are on the building performance, but also I have a heavy hand in kind of queuing up what's going to be next going into some of the software releases and things along those lines. So a little bit about Onset. We started in 1981. We manufacture everything on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. In Bourne. So we are actually up and running and have been running through all of this fun stuff that the country and the world is going through. So we've got a minimal staff that's there, making our loggers. They are deemed critical for actually some of the industries that we are in, which I'll touch on in just a second here. But like Mike and myself and just about everybody in engineering and sales and tech support, we're all working from home here. So Mike and I are going to be doing a little bit of a dance back and forth. It's the first time we've done this remotely and changing presenters. So bear with us here as we work through the technology.
And if you hear my dog barking in the background, please forgive me.
Actually, me as well. Although I think my daughter took him out. So there's 4 markets that we mainly sort of play in at this point, if you want to call it that: building performance, climate monitoring, water monitoring, and cold chain, which gets into pharmaceutical um, shipping and logistics and looking at vaccines for children, and that's really been one of the main reasons why Onset's been able to stay open and continue to conduct businesses. There's major pharmaceutical companies out there that are using our products in critical shipments. So it's been a nice thing that we've been able to maintain and staying open through everything that's going on. So just taking a look at HOBOware. HOBOware is our flagship desktop software program. It runs both on Windows and Macintosh. We're one of the few data logger companies out there that actually do have a Macintosh native platform. There is a free version available and then a pro version that's available for download for 75 bucks, or you can get it on CD or a USB stick for 99. All of the updates are always free. So as we update the software, just let us know. Just a high level comparison of the two different softwares. I'll boil this down to if you are using any data assistance. So if you're using any of our outdoor underwater loggers like dissolved oxygen or conductivity, and things like that, you'll be using the Pro software. Or if you use any of the data shuttles, you'll also be using the Pro software. But a lot of the things that we're going to touch on today are available in the basic or free software as well. I also wanted to touch on two other platforms. Although we're not going to dive into this today, we do have a Bluetooth product line, and that uses Hobo mobile software. And you do have the ability to share those files with HOBOware. So if you want to do some of the analysis, on the HOBOware platform, definitely check out this the HOBOware, as well as HOBOlink for our web-based software for some of our stations and some of our Bluetooth loggers that are getting data out to the cloud. You can also export that data and bring it into the. Can I just get one more check? Are people hearing me? If somebody can pipe in out there. Yep. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you, everybody. Okie doke. Love it.
I think they can hear you, Scott.
I think so. Sorry, we had just a couple people that looked like they were having some problems logging in there. So good. We got Ray all the way from Ann Arbor, Michigan. So as well as others from around the world. So good. Glad y'all can hear me. Thank you. So yeah. So there. Whoa, that was weird. Sorry about that. So there's also the HOBOlink platform where again you can offload the information and bring it into HOBOware to do some of the analysis here as well. But what I'd like to do now is throw up a quick poll question here and just see where you guys are at. So are you currently using a data logger? Let me go ahead and launch this. And I had to add in the fourth option just because, that's my daughter's favorite answer as a teenager now. Wait, what? So, oh, good. We've got a couple people in that category. Awesome. So we're here to we are here to educate you on many different things, as
and we
well
won't look
as
bad too. So that's good.
Exactly. we'll truly be experts.
Really be experts.
So good. And actually looks like we get some folks out here who are not using data loggers. So this is really going to take you through our software platform here and really start to take a look at it on more of our USB loggers. We're not going to completely dive into applications and which loggers to use and that sort of stuff, as we really kind of want to focus on the software today. So let me just close this and show you what we got here. So it looks like we have a lot of Hobo users out there, which is fantastic. And for those of you who are using somebody else's loggers, we're here to convert you. If you're a competitor, Well, welcome. This is what we do. So, so let's jump back over here. And one of the things I do want to point out is that there's a lot of good information on our website. So if we don't touch on something today, please go into our user forum where you can type in questions. You'll get answers from others in the community as well as Onset folks, and then the self-guided training. There's a number of different options up there that really will take the time and do a deep dive into some of these features that we're going to touch on today. And they're broken, especially the self-guided courses, they're broken into, although the presentation is probably about an hour and a half, you can skip ahead of it and all that sort of stuff and dive into the specific areas that you really want to touch on. So let's throw up one more poll question here. And it's basically, where do you typically monitor? What's your primary application? And I know we've got a pretty good mix as I was looking at the folks who or all of you who signed up for this. And yeah, so we've got a lot going out here in in the other category as well. Many folks doing a lot of different things, so that's fantastic. We do a lot with water quality, obviously, climate monitoring, building. You should be able to click on something if for those of you who can't click on it, that's okay as well. I know many of you are typing in, so that's weird. The poll isn't working. Okay, well, it might not be working for everybody, so I'll just I'll end it. But it looks like we got a wide variety of folks here. Let me just show what we've got going on here. So yeah, I'm not sure why the poll wasn't working. We'll take a look at that. So sorry about that. But yeah, wide variety of folks. So one of the things that we are not going to touch on today is our cold chain and pharmaceutical product line, which is something called Intemp. So for those of you who may be looking for information on that, please in the questions just type in pharma and we'll make sure to get you information on that. It's a completely different platform. We will have 2 webinars coming up, one on May 26th, which gets into the Internet of Things of cold chain, and then another one on June 9th, which gets into vaccines for children's and pharmaceutical storage. So definitely please check that out if you're interested. Whoa. Sorry about that. My
Sticky
screen,
mouse.
yeah, exactly. It looks like I should have changed the batteries before I started doing this. So at this point, let's dive into your questions. There was a lot of questions that came up beforehand, and these were some of the topics that we're initially gonna touch on as we dive into this. So please feel free to start typing in your questions, but what I'm gonna do is get out of the presentation here, and let's find HOBOware. All right, so I've got the HOBOware program up and running. One of the things that I do want to show you before we actually get into looking at any of the data files or manipulating anything, there's a lot of good features that we've done a fantastic job at hiding from you, the user. So what you're going to want to do is go up to File and then down to Preferences. And in the preferences here are a lot of good things that you will be able to help manipulate and start to do common settings. So whether that's on export settings, so let's say how you want your data to look when it comes out of the software. Do you want it as an XLS file? Do you want the time and date in the separate columns? How do you want your time format? How do you want your separators, 24, 12-hour time frames? So there's things like that that you can set within here. There are things like plotting, for example, in terms of, I know a lot of times when you open up a graph, it will automatically scale to whatever was being recorded in that data file. So sometimes your data may look a lot more scarier than it actually is, because you may have, you know, your peaks and valleys may have only occurred over 10 degrees, but they look really dramatic. So if you're looking to smooth the curve, oh, I apologize, I really hate that term nowadays with everything that's going on in the world. Um, sorry. You can come in and basically select a measurement type. And I'm going to do this so my graphs don't look too crazy here, but I'm going to go down to temperature and basically say that every time it opens up, it's going to have a minimum axis of 0 and a maximum of 100 in Fahrenheit. And then I am also going to change the relative humidity, since we're going to be working with that today, and we will add that rule. There's other things you can do in terms of, I know this question has come up. You can use a different color for every time a new series is created, or you can use the same color. You can create your own colors. So if you want to set a rule so that temperature, I think it defaults to black when it comes in, and we will have this set up so that's a solid. And let's go with some lime green here, because that's always obnoxious to look at. And
Scott, I think this
yeah,
this answers Gregory's question. I believe he asked a question about basically adding subsequent plots from other data files to match the same format. So I think this actually will help with that.
yeah, it certainly will. And so that will help do that. And I'll show you some things that, you know, you can also, yeah, so this is using the same color, or you can use a different color for each one, but we'll just use the same color. But also within here too, you know, there's fonts. So there's a lot of things that you're going to want to take a look at as you are really kind of getting up and running here. One of the questions that came in was, how do I save my data file and get it to an XLS or a CSV file right away? And that's something that actually you can set up within the export preferences. So once you have this selected here, what we're going to want to do is scroll down, and you can basically say automatically export table data upon readout. And so what this will do is it'll save not only the .hobo file, but it'll also save your CSV or your XLS file at the same time. And you can either bypass the export, so it just gets saved automatically, which is what I would recommend. And then you can also do some ordering features as well. So if you want to, you know, always have temperature come in the first columns and then relative humidity come later, you can do that also. So again, I would definitely take a look at the different preferences in here. Again, lots of different options, but what I will touch on too is how to do that within the graph once we pull that up anyways. So what I'll do is hit OK, and that's going to save the new preferences. So let me get a graph open here, and I will start working with this file here. So this graph's a little old, but it gets the job done. So what we're going to do is open up from from a study that I did many moons ago in our old house before we updated our windows. And what we're going to do is plot temperature and relative humidity. And as you can see, the temperature is now in that obnoxious green that everybody loves. But our axis is scaled 0 to 100 for both temperature and humidity. So it kind of smooths out some of these peaks and valleys that you will see. So one of the more common questions that we had that came in was regarding, exactly a study like this. So I've got a bunch of different files, and how do I deal with all these? So and we'll open up a couple of these and we'll just plot them. So how do we combine all this information? There's a couple ways you can go about doing it. If they're from different loggers, what you can do is click on your arrow tool and then select your series and then come up to edit and hit copy, and then come over to the other file and hit edit and go to paste. Now, since I kept everything the same color, what it did was it brought it in, as you can see here, it's highlighted with a dashed line. So that's going to go ahead and basically start to add this into this plot. If you are doing a lot of files, and I consider more than one file a lot, so let me just, what I'm going to do is delete this series, and I'll show you another way on how to bring in multiples at the same time. And that is using our merge feature, which is called merge data file. And this is what you're going to do for two different options. One, if you want to pull data sets in from different loggers. They may have all been recording at the same logging interval. They may not have. I typically recommend doing that at the same logging interval, but our software will kind of pull that all together if you're not doing that. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring in these three data files. So to select those, I'm just holding down the control key for Windows, or the option key for, or the control, the option or the Apple key for Mac. And what I'll do is I'll hit open, and this is going to open up another window here. Now, what we want to do is, since this is trying to copy it to the existing basement that we already have in place, what you're going to want to do is put these to no series. And this is a little quicker than opening all these and copying and paste them. But once you've selected this to no series and you hit plot, what this has done has now added from these different loggers the different data sets right on top of each other. So if you're looking to really kind of overlay all these graphs, and again, this begins to get a little messy as you're going through, and there's some manipulation that you can do to to start to differentiate these. But this is a quick way to bring everything into one file and within all the different columns. And before I turn this over to Mike to kind of dive in on a couple things, I just want to touch on the real reason for the merge feature. Honestly, I think what I just did was a bug, and we actually kept it in there because it was actually useful to be able to combine all that stuff. But if you want to combine data from the same data set, so let's take a look at the bedroom file that we have here. And what I'm going to do is, now I have multiple time frames. Let me just go up a folder here to the bedroom file. Now, as you can see, I've got different time frames here. So I am going to select these three files, And this is, again, one of the things that you're going to want to keep in mind as you are managing your data files. I usually use the date and time, or the date of when I do the readout. So that's certainly something to consider, as you're managing your files. But what I'll do is hit open. Now, what this is doing is it's going to merge it into the existing data that's already there. So it's going to bring it into this serial number that's already been used. And we'll just double check. That's all there for all those. And what we'll do is hit plot. Now, obviously, I'm missing a data set, but the difference here is that what it does is it pulls it in to all one column here. So you have your entire data set that's pulled in from those 4 different files into one big long spreadsheet and or graph, as opposed to when you copy and paste, even from the same logger, it will generate different columns here for you. So that's one of the ways to take advantage of the merging feature there, to easily sort of manipulate your data, and then really start to break this out here.
And just to add, I think Thomas asked the question: is it possible to then merge in the missing data set? And I think the answer is yes. I don't have an example here, but we could try. But I believe you can. Once this is done, and you've got those 2 separate plots there, just simply merging again, I believe you can get that missing file in.
Yeah, you certainly can. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I'm missing that data set. But the one point where the software will trip over itself is if you have dates that overlap each other. So that's where the HOBOware software doesn't understand how to deal with from 2 different files with the same time frame from the same logger. So you just need to make sure that your data is coming in. If it's all from the same logger, it needs to be time sequenced in such a way that you don't have any overlapping data. When that's coming in from different loggers, you do have the ability to overlay those different time frames there. All right, let's see if we can make this switch here, Mike. Let's see how seamless we can do this. You want to grab a question and run with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see. I know
let me bring you over to. Let me make you the presenter here.
All right.
All right. Did that work?
Show my screen. Yes. Hold on one second. All right. So it should be there now. Everyone should see. Yep. It's good.
Right,
okay.
Perfect.
So one question that we had from early on. So does the software, or can the software provide statistical data from multiple loggers per period of time? So the answer is yes. And actually, there is kind of 2 ways about this, depending on how you're thinking about it. So one, I'm going to open up some data files here. Just bear with me as I find them. I had them queued up. So we have a series of loggers. In fact, most of the new series of loggers all have this. Now, this is a way of actually recording statistical data, right? So you're actually telling the logger to do the statistics for you. This is just an example. I'm going to open this file just so everybody can see it. And hang on a second while my machine chugs along. I might have opened it twice, so sorry for the delay. Okay, all right.
This is why we don't do demos, right?
Yeah, my laptop's approaching 4 years old now, so it's maybe time for a new one. Okay, so here we have the standard data, and we can see these, and if you can follow my mouse, we have the standard, regular, interval data checked. But in between these 2, so here's your temp, and then just go down to channel 6, that's RH. In between, we have these selected, or we have these not selected yet. So temperature max, temperature min, average, standard deviation. So within this logger, one has programmed this device to take a logging interval, take a reading at log interval, but in between that time, actually do a little bit more work for us and find basically these points within that log interval. So what I'll do is just to give you an idea, I'll start with this and I'll give you average. We'll get rid of some of the events, plot this out here. So now this, it looks like you'll notice the average, there's gonna be some that match, but here we see this average is just slightly lower, or slightly higher rather. So that's an example of statistical logging with the logger doing the work. Now we can also have the software do the work. Let's say we are using a little bit faster logging interval. This would be a standard logging interval that we're taking data and recording, committing that to memory at our program time. I'm actually going to make this file look like that. So here is another trick to hide series. You could just get rid of that just by doing this, or remove it entirely. Just remember, if you remove it, it's gone. You have to replot. If you hide it, you can bring it back. So we're going to do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply a filter here. And this is, we're basically going to take this and we're going to get an average for a different time period, right? So it looks like we're at about a 5-minute logging interval. I really want to know what the average temperature was every hour, right? So we can do that. So again, selecting the series in the details pane on the left-hand side, going up to edit, filter series, oh, there it is, filter series temp. That brings up a dialog box called filter series. And here we have show the, right? So we have a choice here, maximum, minimum, or average. So we're going to do average. And in each one, day is a little bit too long. We're going to just knock that back to an hour. And just, we're going to leave it the resultant series name. Let's see, I'm just going to, yeah, leave that there. Okay. So it doesn't look much different here because they're close, right? But there is a new series behind this. We can also see that highlighted in this column. I'll just stretch that out so you can see it a little bit better.
Hey, actually, can you show us how to hide that series, and then it'll just show you all the average?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me bring this back up. So again, just to go back to the hide feature. So hide that. Now here we're just looking at that average, right? So that's kind of one way to do it. Now, if we bring this back, you can process and filter this same series several times. I've seen a lot of folks, they'll actually plot the file a few times and do each one, and that's okay too. But you can do the same thing a few times here. Just select your series, filter, and let's say we want to do the same thing, average in each one. We'll just keep it as a day this time. We'll just call this day temp.
Oh, hey, do like a high. You did the average.
Average. Oh, I see. Okay, you're right. I'll do a maximum. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, max temp. There you go. So now we have a cityscape, and I'm going to go hide this again. So now we have our average every hour and our daily highs.
So another question here, Mike, is since we have this here, it's not clear in terms of where exactly the points. So are you able to mark the points somehow?
Yes, you can do that a couple ways. So we can go into, bear with me a second here. We're going to go into the particular axis properties. This is how I do it. There's other ways to do it too. Let's see here.
Actually, I was thinking there's a quicker way to get there.
Yep, go ahead.
So up in the toolbar.
Oh yeah.
We no, over to the icons.
Up here. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Go to the right. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So that's right. That is a way to do it. Yeah. So now you can see all the data points that are here, right? So if it was unclear where they were just because of the way the graph looked, then this will certainly help you get there. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully that helps with the statistics and a couple other tricks in there.
Before you close that out,
Yeah,
I get let's take a look at we've got a couple questions on how to deal with presentations. And we've got this data, we've got this awesome looking plot now that has these dots all over it and
yep.
these dashes, and now we want to share it to the world. So can you talk about the different ways in terms of how we would get this into, whether it's a PowerPoint, whether we're going to print it, whether you're going to do,
Sure.
different things like that.
Great. Yeah, so we've done some work here. So one thing, and just to mention, it's a good idea if you've done some work and you don't want to lose this work, just to save it as a project. So basically here you would go to your file menu and then select Save Project. That way you don't lose this in case you want to pull it up again in the HOBOware software. I won't go ahead and do that here, but just to show you where it is, Save Project. And then you would just follow the save prompts like you would anything else. But to share, one of the ways I like to do it, in fact, I think this is probably the most versatile for a lot of applications, is basically copy graph to clipboard. This takes the entire graph and it just puts it into your clipboard as an image. So now we have that in our clipboard now. And if you were to fire up a Word document, and let me just see if I can do that quickly. I'll search for it. And this could be really anything that would accept an image. It doesn't have to be Word. But here now we can just go ahead and paste that in. And now we have that. So if we're building just a report, perhaps perhaps you have a client, they want to see the graph. They don't really care about the data grid, right? They don't care about the numbers. They just want to see the graph that gets an idea of things over time. You can add this to your report. Makes it very easy to explain, what we're seeing with, as we record data going on. Let's see, Scott, what's another way?
Yeah, you want to, well, I think either that, or I know that some folks do the traditional just screen grab, but
Yep.
I think just copying it to the clipboard is really one of the the best ways to do it.
Gotcha.
Um,
So one other thing you can do is, if let's say you want to just print this to PDF to get one page. I won't do it here, but you can certainly go to your file menu and just print. Just make sure you hit print the Control P. Otherwise, if you choose print details or print points, that's going to be this will be from the details pane. This will be the points that you see above in basically the cells up top.
hey, while you're here, can you just take us through the export? So this is kind
Sure.
of Mike just showed us the way to get the image. We don't have a way to put a watermark on there, but so that's kind of the deal with the image. How do we get the Excel file? How
Sure.
can we get to a graph or a spreadsheet?
Absolutely. And just to touch and remind one of the points you brought up earlier, back to the preferences, you can set up your export settings right here. So where it says export settings, this is where you have control over how the export looks. So take advantage of this, play around with it. You can fit your data into a lot of applications just by manipulating this just a little bit. So that's certainly something to take note of. For now, I'll just go ahead and hit this use classic export settings. It's what we have deemed as classic. So hit OK, that takes the settings. So now all you have to do is go up to this export table data button. Looks like a piece of paper with a green X on it. Click on that, and then we get the export prompt window. And from here, if I had a whole bunch of data here, a good example would have been Scott's file with all of that data up there. You wanted to export some of it, but maybe not all of it. This is where you can pick and choose that. So, but for our purposes, we can just go ahead and export. And again, so the classic export settings puts it into this basically a tab delimited format and labels it as a TXT file. And then you can just basically put that anywhere you would like, just follow the save prompts, just like this. And that's pretty much it with exporting.
Yeah, hey, you want to throw control back my way?
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. And well, I touch on a couple of the other questions here, Mike, if you want to set yourself up for showing us some of the importing capabilities, that
Sure.
would be great.
Yep.
So a couple of the other questions that we've had come in is this time frame here, and you know, how do we then start to manipulate this? So I've got this huge graph with all this data in here, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is totally so overwhelming, and it's ugly, and blah blah blah. So that's the other 14-year-old besides the wait what. Uh, so I'm gonna hide the relative humidity series here. Actually, I'm gonna, yeah, we'll just hide those real quick. And so we get back to our lovely green color that we have. So if you do want to change colors on the fly, you can highlight a series, hit edit, and come to graph properties, which then allows you to change the color. Uh, so that's one thing you can do. Another question that came in about how to manipulate the time axes. So you can come in and use our eyeglass tool, which will just totally you drag and then let go and click in the middle, and it'll start to zoom in for you. But sometimes that gets a little ugly and not as nice as what we would like to see. Um, so what you're going to do is take your arrow tool and then come down and double click on the time axis. And this is going to allow you to take a look at a particular time frame. So we'll take a look between, let's do here, we'll go back to March and there, and we'll hit done. Now what this done is it's given us a week's worth of data. So if you just want to highlight that or a month's worth of data, this is a quick way to kind of bring it down into a particular time frame. If you want to then move your data, you grab the hand tool that I just grabbed up top, and you can then slide this along. So if you're looking for peaks and valleys within your data set, you can take a look at that as well. So those are some things. And also, if you need to manipulate your other axes, again, it's just double clicking on it, and you can set the bounds. So we'll set this from 50 to 70 degrees, and we'll hit apply. Now, one of the other things you can do is, let's say you have a mission critical temperature, right? Or a particular threshold that you want to show. And it's kind of a pain looking at this going, all right, 66 degrees is my critical point. Well, let's drop a line in there. So what we're going to do is double click on this, and you can do something that's called enable alarms. And so I will set this for 66 degrees. And what that does is it drops in a threshold. So you can easily kind of visually look through and say, okay, these are all the ones that are within range, as well as the ones that are out of range. So kind of a quick way to look at things from there. One of the other things that I wanted to touch on is within a particular series. So let me just back out of this and we'll get back to the main graph.
Scott,
Yeah.
we had a quick question. Just one of the users is asking about the missing column, or looks to be missing, basically the fourth temperature column.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry about. Let me just let's go find it. So basically, I didn't have a full data set when I merged that other file. So as you can see, I'm using the crosshair tool here, and it's probably easier if I just go up and look at this at this point. Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, it looks like when I must have not done my offloads at the same time. So that's why we've got, yeah, so I've got some data missing. Now, and this is one of the things that the tools that I use actually a lot is the crosshair tool, because not only is it going to put a line across your data set, it moves you down within the spreadsheet so you can see what it is, as well as over here what the points are on your right hand side. So kind of a quick tool to jump in and take a look at things. One final thing before I throw it back over to Mike is it looks like I just got my 15-minute warning here. So there's a tool called Substat Statistics. Sorry, I'm horrible with that one. And that's this tool right here, this little eyeglass tool thingy. And what you're going to do is come up and you can select a particular time frame. So we're going to take a look at between the 10th and the 28th here, and basically you click and let go. And then what this does is it's going to expand over here. So for this particular time frame, it will give you the number of samples, the min, max, average, and standard deviation. So if you're looking for a particular period of time, as opposed to what Mike showed us earlier, where you're doing that min, max, and average over a particular time frame, like a day or an hour or a month. This will give you the min, max, and average within a particular subset of the full data there. Yeah, so before I get off this, hey Fred, thanks for joining us. So one of the other questions that comes in is I've got all this interval data, right? And now I want to bring in some on-off data, for example. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and merge in. Well, actually, let me open up the on-off data first. And we were looking at a data set here on a furnace. And when you look at something like this, okay, it's great, it's ugly, it means nothing, you just have all these on-offs, and it's like, okay, what the devil do I do with this data? So let me just see what the statistics do here. So it does give you the duration of time that you're looking at and when it started and ended, as well as the percentage on, percentage off. So yeah, Fred, that subset statistics tool, it's been how many years? I'll never get this, but yes, so that is going to.
I can't do any of this.
I know.
I'm glad you covered
the topic. Oh, yeah. The other thing that so that's one way to get there, and then to take advantage of the filters like Mike showed us before. This is for on-off data or for accumulation data. Let's say you're doing energy or rain and you want to start to get totals. So rather than getting min, max, and average, when you go to filter this, you can do percentage time off, total time on, number of changes, but I'll do total time on per day, and then I'll hit plot. And let me just hide this raw data. And now what you see here, we'll just get over to the crosshair tool. So now you can see that, okay, over this particular day on the 29th, my furnace was running for 6 hours and 25 minutes. So that's one thing that can be done with the data there. Yeah, I think you can do the number of changes as well. That's within the filter also. just come back and show that here, and we'll do filter, changes, motor on to motor off changes over the course of a day. So yeah, so it gives you the number of changes from on to off, or the other way to do it is off to on. So you can plot that as well. And finally, one of the other questions, Mike, I'll turn this back over to you here in a second, is what do I do when I have data that doesn't match up? So I've got all this on-off data with random timeframes in here, and how do I bring this into an interval based logger? And I think this should match up somewhere in here. But what I'll do is hit edit and copy and then paste it. Yeah, so this will automatically, let me just get over to this. So oops, as you can see here, if you have data that's out of sync, trying to do this in Excel is just a lovely, painful thing, like stabbing yourself in the eye multiple times. Whereas HOBOware just easily copies and pastes this and inserts the data right in. So yeah, so again, another convenience way to take advantage of this. So Mike, a couple of the questions that we've had, and I'm not going to show exactly how to do this, but when you get different data sets, whether that is your own data set or you may be exporting data from one of our other platforms like Hobo Mobile or HOBOlink, how do you import that data into HOBOware, and how do you use that?
Nice. Well, I'm queued up for that. So,
Okay, why don't you grab the controls and let's go.
all right, here we go. So I think you all see my screen now. Yep, you do. Okay. The one thing that I wanted to show you first is your standard text input. Short of going through how to kind of format it, what I want to do is basically show you what it should look like. And I think you see it now. Okay, good. So this is your basic text import format. And it's very, very simple. Again, tab delimited. I have this one in Notepad. There are other programs. I know a lot of folks like to use Notepad++. I use it a lot for a lot of other things. So any simple text program like that will allow you to kind of edit this if you needed to. So this is the format you want to really, if you're doing the simple text import, is you really want to just follow this, right? So again, basically very simple: date tab, time tab, your value, pressure, and then PSI is in parentheses, tab and tab in C. So in order to actually do the importing for this particular file, go ahead and minimize that. Go over to your file menu and go to import text data. So here, just go ahead and navigate through this. Let's see here. That's this one right here. So now we're going to see this here. Now, this is an important step. You do have to, I see a lot of failures to import come from this. Everything looks okay here, except, and the reason why is because of this setup here. So this doesn't necessarily look at that document and match the format. You just have to make sure you get it right. So we know it's month, day, year. We know it's a 2-digit year. That's very important. That's probably the biggest reason for import failure is that. Also 24-hour time versus 12-hour time. So just pay attention to that when you're importing. Now, once you do that, you hit OK. And if you see this screen, you're good. You know you're going to get data. So here you could just put in a description and let's see here. We'll keep the GMT offset the same and hit OK. Now we have a plot setup dialog, which is great. We know we're almost there. Pressure, temp, those are the two things that we're going to import here. Okay, so that's your basic simple text import. I did actually, there was a question that came through about importing data or sharing data from HOBOlink. I actually queued up my HOBOlink account here. Let me just make sure you can see it.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So I just wanted to just show you an example of some of these exports that I've already set up. You can create a new export, and I'm not going to use this one, but I want to just show you how you would do it to easily import into HOBOware. So we'll just call this Mike's data. And this is important, the file format. We have something called HOBOware CSV, and what we do here is we add what's called a YAML header, and that HOBOware knows all about that. It knows how to process that. So that adds that header piece into the file so that it makes it easily imported. And then you would just save here, and you would select your devices from here. And mind the funny names that I name my logger. So the Iron Fist is the one I've been working on the most. So, but I won't. Go ahead.
One of the things that I'll say, and that we stumbled across this by accident with one of our newbie tech support guys many years ago, is that once you save that CSV file, don't quit out yet. Once you save that CSV file, do not open it with Excel and resave it, because Excel then throws a bunch of garbage Excel things in there that then HOBOware pukes on itself.
Yep.
So that file that you save from HOBOlink as the HOBOware CSV, just make sure you know where you saved it, and then go to File and Import and bring that into HOBOware. And it should come in fine. Just don't play with that file in Excel beforehand before you import it into HOBOware.
Scott, we're running close. Can I squeeze a couple more in here?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So I've already downloaded one of those files from HOBOlink to my desktop here, just to show you how it kind of imports. So this one was temp dump. This is actually from a few weeks ago. Just to give you a quick idea, this is basically how it looks when you import it, right? So you should see this plot setup dialog, but notice how it skipped all of the other things that we did on the simple text. It doesn't need to do that now because it has that YAML header, and voila, there it is. Great. We did have a question about adding some energy data into here. I just wanted to get a file up real quick just to show you. We have a logger called a plug load logger. It's a 15 amp duplex receptacle US device that basically you would plug in. You could plug your refrigerator into it. Works great. So one of the things you can do, see if I can just find a good one here. This one's called Cubicle. And so this is some of that data. So voltage RMS, current, active power.
Just to jump in, there's other questions out here. This is how you're going to pull in data from other sets as well. So whether it's weather data, energy data, data from anywhere, this is how you're going to be able to pull that information in.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah. So just to get this file up here, just to show you, you can do the same exact thing with this data that you did, that Scott did, by merging all of those together. If you had a logger outside and you wanted to know how your AC that's inside was reacting to the temperature from outside, you could do that. You could actually add those two things together in the same graph. And it's actually really neat, especially as the summer goes on. It's a good, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, it's a good exercise to do now and then, just to see how the heat outside affects the way your AC works.
Yeah, that was actually, we were doing an energy audit at Onset. There was a third-party company that came in, and they called me up, and on Cape Cod, believe it or not, we do get typically a 100-degree week, usually beginning of July, and they were wondering why. Yeah, exactly, and they were wondering why our AC was running all the time. And basically, we gave them access to one of the weather stations on our property. And once they saw that weather data coming in, it's like, oh, well, of course it's running all the time. It's over 95 degrees for the past week. So, hey, I'm just going to say that we're over the time right now. So there's a couple things that I want to touch on that I saw that came in here, and I just want to kind of come back. So for those of you who had questions about this being available or actually found some of the stuff that we're doing useful. Um, and I know there's a lot of things that we unfortunately weren't able to touch on here. Mike, can you give me the control back real quick?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, man. I forgot. It's it's the first time doing this way, so um,
So yeah, oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that.
no worries,
It
dude.
was sticky button.
Yeah, there we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up the PowerPoint here again, and one of the slides I want to go back to is this slide here, and there's additional training and there's more in depth about this. So I apologize, I'm not going to be able to pronounce your first name. However, there is a lot more information on our self-guided training tours that again you can dive into specific features. We did not touch on something like cropping. We did not get into some of the data assistance and how to use those. So for like barometric pressure and dissolved oxygen and those types of loggers there. Um, so those are definitely some things that you'll want to take a look at. Um, there were a couple questions that came in. Deanna, I saw yours, and there's a couple things that honestly here are a little more tech support related that's going to require a little more back and forth than just listening to Mike and myself talk. As well as there were some sales applications that came in from some of the earlier questions. So we're gonna take those offline for you folks. For those folks out there that may need to have additional follow-up, but myself or Mike will touch base with you or one of our team members after the webinar. Will certainly run into that. David, yeah. So from a security yeah, there's lots of security things going on nowadays. Whether it's US not being able to plug in anything into your USB port, whether it's not being able to use Bluetooth on a facility, whether it's not being able to get into Wi-Fi and things along those lines. So we do have some solutions. Again, what I do is actually recommend reaching out to our sales team, our application folks, um, and out to our product application folks. So, we've got a half dozen or so folks in applications, and then another, 6 or 8 folks in technical support. So definitely reach out to those folks, and we can talk more about how to get around some of the or address some of the security, not get around, but ways to work with them on security features and things like that, as well as some of the troubleshooting things here that we may need to dive into. So this is our contact information. Whether you want to get us on social media or hit up me or Mike directly, or just reach out to our staff. One minor note, I didn't update this. Our technical support is now available from 8 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday, as opposed to 8 to 8. So at this point, we are 6 minutes over, so I just want to say thank you to all of you who hung out and checked this out. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy. Mike, any last words?
Yeah, no, the only thing I wanted to mention was, again, Scott mentioned the user forum. So certainly use that to your advantage. There's a lot of good content up there now. I personally answer a lot of those. So certainly, use the content that's there. Also, in the same footer of the website, you'll notice that there's knowledge base as well. So a lot of times, some of your questions that you may have, perhaps it's after hours. A lot of times those answers that you need might be in there. So use it to your advantage, and we're updating them all the time. So certainly, and if something isn't there that should be there, of course, let us know. We'll get it there.
Yeah, it's really nice to see. It's nice to see everybody around the world. We've got Gregory is ready for beer 30 in the UK. We're just about there. We got another hour and a half, and we'll hit beer 30 here, Greg. And
I don't know. I'm with Greg.
it's time given this stay-at-home order. And
Yeah.
well, we got Alec over in Russia. Thank you for joining us. A bunch of folks across the states. Thomas, I
Thomas
believe
and
you.
Chile. Hey, Thomas.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us and coming here today and taking an hour and 7 minutes out of your day. We greatly appreciate it. And again, thank you. And everybody have a great long weekend and stay happy and stay healthy.
Stay safe.
Exactly. Thanks all.
Thanks, guys. Take care.